Welcome to Marketing by Design, where you and I learned from our favorite founders and marketers on how they built their success and told their stories by design. I am your host, Andy Milligan. Let's get started. What if your sales page or website looks so good that leads started chasing you? That's exactly what today's guest, Martin Cristaldo, a designer for some of the best creators on the internet like Jay Clouse, Justin Moore, and several others.
I redesigned the landing page for the lab community. He likes the project, he likes the result, and so he made this testimonial. I realized how influential Jay is. So I started getting new clients in the same space like other creators or people.
Martin is a creator-focused sales and landing page designer who spent more than a decade across all areas of design, and he brings that multifaceted expertise to a very targeted and specific skill. Now he's focused 100% on launching the highest converting and most beautifully designed sales pages on the entire internet. What makes Martin's story so interesting is not just a beautiful design, not just the marketing, but how he builds a business that's so contrary to the traditional agency. I've been quietly studying Martin's work for a very long time. His pages for Justin Moore and Jay Clouse are some of the most recognized on the entire internet, and I wanted to pick his brain in this episode and get to learn his process. A little bit for my own selfish reasons, but there's tactical things that you all can take away for your website and for your sales page that you're not going to be able to hear anywhere else. So in this chat, we're going to learn how to design for a specific offer and not for your own tastes, how to build a creator-first business that lets you be creative and still meet business goals, and how to differentiate yourself from a traditional agency and make your work truly stand out online. A big point where Martin and I both resonate is this idea also of doing free work. And if you've ever gotten your foot into the door by working hard and creating opportunities for yourself, you're going to vibe with this chat so hard. All right, that's enough for me. Let's get straight into episode 127 of the podcast. But before I do, I want to invite you to check out a free resource that I have for you guys. And if you're here for design, you're going to love this. It's the highest converting landing pages visual swipe file that I put together just for you in Notion. One of my favorite tools that I use in the design process to reference high converting sections, high converting websites in a visual first format. It allows you to toggle by things like CTA, color scheme, industry, and all the things you would need to know. Please take me up on that. That'll be in the first link down below, as will all of Martin's information. And without further ado, please welcome Martin Chris by Design.
Well, it started like 15, 16, 17, I don't know, years ago already. So I was looking for my first job. Long story short, ended up, I started working on a company called Simaco, which is from Uruguay. It is basically a company that sells auto parts. It's a big one here. And so I was looking for my first job, and they had like a position for delivery guy. So I will, to deliver auto parts and here and there.
Yeah.
But then a few days after I got the interview, they called me and they say, "Hey, Martin, we have this graphic design position for you." And I was so surprised because at that point I had only one course that I went through, and I didn't have any experience, any portfolio, anything at all. So I went there like basically blank. I created like a few graphics immediately to kind of impress them, and basically I got the job. From there I work on some I worked for them like for 2 years. Then I move on to a small studio, and then after probably 4 or 5 years going through different jobs, I got to start freelancing, like working at home. And at that point, I got a few clients, and then I got a job as an employee for an agency in the US. They were from Relish. Yeah, and so I worked for them like for 10 years, doing different stuff. So I started like a graphic designer in my first job, and then immediately moved into web design. Even though I also keep creating graphic design, visuals, branding, and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I started working with this agency, and on the side, I always kept having, different projects like
Mhm.
freelancing on the side until at one point I decided to go all in by myself after, well, I worked for them like for 10 years. So it was a long time.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And then I started pivoting. At some point, I realized that I wanted to bring more value to my clients, of something that
Mhm.
is more tangible that they can see, okay, this is not only a beautiful design or beautiful graphic, but something that really feels like value, like a result for them. So that's where
Mhm.
I started focusing more on conversions rather than UX, right? At some point, it was more like
Mhm.
UX experience, the little things here and there. But I wanted
Mhm.
to bring that. I just wanted to for them to feel like, okay, I'm helping you to make more money.
Yeah.
And so I got into conversions world, started to learn more about it, and got into the sales page world. And so at the beginning, I created sales pages for software companies, for some e-commerce products, but it really didn't hit home for me. Like the niche and the type of client I was getting, it was like cool projects, but really didn't. How can I say? Like I didn't really feel like that was my niche or my thing, right?
Yeah.
And so the last year, yeah, 2024, in April, I started posting on X, trying to build an audience there. And so I created this a series of roast design. So I will get someone's product or landing page, and I will redesign like the hero section, explain why I changed the things I changed,
Mhm.
and trying to, to build an audience, to create some noise over there, and hopefully get a client. And so when I was in my rows number 12, I was looking to for my rows number 13. So I was looking for pages, to rows. And that's when I
Mhm.
came to Creator HQ product. So the Jay Clouse product. So
Mhm.
it was a good timing because at that point he recently launched it, like probably a few weeks into the launch. But
Mhm.
I didn't know him at all. I didn't know he was that influential. I didn't know who he was, I found him on X. I saw the product and I saw that the landing page was pretty decent and it was working. He was making like 70K already in that launch. It's not that it wasn't
Mhm.
working, but I saw room for improvement. And so I created the rows, but that time I went a little bit further. And so I also built the rows on Framer. That was the tool he was using. And actually, I did at that point I never used the tool, so it was something to learn for me as well. And so, long
Wow.
story short, I ended up, Che commented back, say, "Oh, okay, I like that. I don't know if I'm going to." He said something like, I don't know if I'm going to do it." And when he said that,
Uh-huh.
okay, I said, "Okay, I'm gonna do it for you." But that was in the background, right? I didn't make that publicly. So I
Yeah.
contacted him through messages and I sent him the framer project. And yeah, and then from there he said, okay, I might have one project for you. Pick me in 1 month, something like that. And then yeah, long story short, we started working together. Thanks to, well, we started working together. I redesigned the lab, which is the his
Yeah.
community. So I redesigned the landing page for the lab community. He likes the project, he likes the result, and so he made this testimonial. And from there, when he published the testimonial and basically said, "Hi, Martin, I realized how influential Shay is." So I started
Yeah.
getting new clients in the same space, like other creators or people. A lot of people came from the actual community, the labs. They trust what Shay said basically, and they
Yeah.
they started hiring me. So that was like a break point for me because I realized how much I like working with this type of people, with creators. And also I find out that I could bring them much more value than on all other niches. So it was like a perfect fit for me and for them, right? It was a win-win.
Yeah. Dude, oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay. So much out of, not to cut you off, like so much out of what you just said. So, like, going back to your background, and if people look at your portfolio, obviously I've spent a lot of time on it and I use it for inspiration as well. But yeah, for any designers, developers, creatives in the audience, highly recommend that you go to Martin's portfolio is martincris.com, which I have been keeping up. I know you are redesigning a new personal site. So maybe by the time this launches, that'll be out too. But your style is very graphic designer centric. You can tell there's a very strong background of how you use like traditional design principles, and then you translate those over to web. And a platform like Framer, I think, lends really well to that. But dude, like I didn't actually know that you went in and developed that whole site for Jay before he even started working with you.
Yeah.
That is commitment, and that's awesome. I saw in the testimonial too, he referenced that you did an audit, and that eventually led to you working with him. But when you were doing like these roasts, first of all, it reminds me of have you ever heard of Ollie Meeklings?
No. Only.
He's the guy, he's the, if you ever heard of Tella, it's the or not Tella, it's the testimonial
Oh,
aggregation software.
Senja. Okay, Oli. Yeah,
Senja,
yeah,
yeah, Senja,
yeah.
yeah. He
Gotcha. Yeah,
he
yeah. I know him.
before he founded that company, he was doing like he had a company called roastmylandingpage.com where he
Yeah,
would literally, and he was a copywriter, so he was doing it to try and get clients for copywriting. So he would just record these, and he eventually got to a place he did over, I think, over 1,000 of them, and he started charging like 350 per head. He had like he has a whole breakdown of like his pipeline on YouTube.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's great.
of like how he basically went from, it's like a whole case study story, like he went from like leaving his old job and he built this whole business behind literally just doing that over and over, and he had like form automations and he would track the conversions from the home pages that he would audit, and it's just, and he would do like all these independent research studies to then get leads for the rent, like he systematized everything. So if anyone is looking to, and like we do homepage audits too, but if anyone's looking to just get clients for anything, whether it's copywriting, design, if you have a social media account and you have like a little bit of dedication, you can seriously make anything happen. And
Yeah,
that's why it fires me up to hear that you did that and that's where you started too. But like you're obviously, we can see like as we look at like your portfolio and body of work, there's a very consistent style, and I think it lends really well to the types of people you serve with creators where branding and really great design is very highly valued. And Martin, like I think what you've done is you've actually kind of created like a moat around your business because you have the design skill set and you're in a niche where it's really valued, like it's especially, and just even the past couple of days, I've been going down the rabbit holes of like how design processes are changing, like how you're ideating and how just like watching other people's process on how they're creating for UX. And a lot more of it is using AI tools and starting from a different place other than the brand itself. And I
yeah.
think you have a unique skill set that lends really well to the people that you serve. Um, what I want to ask you, like in terms of your own process, do you have like a Cliff Notes version? Okay, say watched this episode. I check out Martin's portfolio. I'm scrolling through Wizards Guild, Gen HR Accelerator, Jay Clouse's landing page. I'm scrolling through all these and I'm like, wow, man, I got to work with Martin. And I get in touch with you and you start my project. Say I'm a coach or consultant. What does your process look like from onboarding? Like you have a call with me and then we become we work together. What does that look like, and what does your process look like for creating these awesome works of art?
Yeah, so basically I usually jump on a call, to get to know them and find out more about where they are at and basically see if we are a good fit. It's a very friendly. I try to not go so hard, and maybe I'm doing this wrong, but I try to handle my calls like if they were my friend. So
Okay.
like this conversation is okay. What is going on, Andy? Where you're at, and see if it is the right time for them to do whatever they are looking for or whatever they think they need right now, right? And a good example is one lady one time a creator told me asked me for a website. All right. So she wanted to create a new website, and she was starting out like this new creator career, starting to build the audience and everything. And I told her, you don't need a website right now. You need
Yeah.
like create your audience, focus on that, focus on delivering value, and then once you have that, you have your offer in place, we can get fancy and create a website, but you don't need
Mm-hmm.
that. And so after the call, if we are good fit to work together, the process are usually, for example, I'm going to put the example of a sales page, which is actually the service I usually like. My enter point for me to start working with someone is a sales page. And so first of all, I send a questionnaire. So it's a very in-depth questionnaire with a lot of questions. I handle everything async. I'm not a fan of calls, to be honest. And so I try to keep everything, asynchronous. And
Sure.
so I send them this questionnaire, and that's basically most of the work they have to do in the whole process, right? So they spend like
Mm-hmm.
probably between 2 to 4 hours going through this questionnaire in depth. Some people would, for them it will take less time because they have that figured out already for them, like
Mm-hmm.
the audience, what the offer is about, all the benefits, and every detail about the offer, right? And so once they get the questionnaire to me, we go through a 3 steps process. So I get into the copy. So I review the questionnaire, all the information, and I start working on the copywriting. I send them a document. So it's a Google Doc. I share that. The document along with a Loom video. So I send a Loom video explaining why I have done that way. Everything has a why we find. So I explain them everything, all the details, and then we iterate over the document, feedback back and forth until the copywriting is set to stone and we are ready to move to the design phase. So I don't create, and that might be a little bit weird for some designers, or not.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for some designers it will be okay. Where is the
Yeah.
wireframe
This is
coming in?
this is this is my selfish part. I'm like leaning in right now because this is what I'd love to hear. I'm a designer, so
Yeah.
I'm
And so
leaning in.
I jump directly into the design. I don't create wireframes. So my wireframe actually is more like the copy, right? So the copy
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have any color or anything. It's just a document with some styles on the headline, but nothing too fancy, right? It's to really set the message right. And from there, usually, it depends if the creator might have a brand already or not. If they are very new, they have to create like the colors, typography, and those like foundations for the brand. We go from there. But usually they are creators that they already have a brand or at least an idea of it, right? Like they use the
Mm-hmm.
same font everywhere and they have a few main colors for the brand. So I use that. I try to leverage what they have already, like basically make them look better, more professional, whatever they want to communicate. And so I take the copy, we work on the first step, and then we go through the second step, which is design. I create the whole page. And once that is approved, we go into building the page. So in that case, I feel like I take a little bit different approach from other designers or agencies out there. Maybe not big
Mm-hmm.
agencies, but I see a lot of people like marry with one specific tool, right? You have to use Webflow, you have to use Framework.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm have found that is more valuable for creators especially is to build in the tool they are familiar with already. So if they are
Yeah.
using WordPress, whatever they're using, I don't mind too much about that. I just build the page there. I have the skills to learn new tools because, especially drag and drop tools, they are pretty similar. You get familiar with them pretty quickly. It's different if it
Mm-hmm.
is Webflow. I can handle Webflow, so that's not a problem. The point is, I go with the tool they are familiar with because they find it more valuable than having to learn another new tool altogether,
Yeah.
right?
Wow. Okay. That's so a lot of questions. So I'm gonna like phase them out one at a time. So tell me, okay. So you're zooming in a little bit on your design process. So you have our branding guidelines that you're working with. Now we're onboarded. We're in the design process. We're working together. You have my brand assets. You have maybe a couple of calibration sites that I really like. I probably came to you in the first place because I saw one that I liked in particular. So you already know that maybe you're leaning a little bit more towards some of those stylistic elements. Talk to me about like your inspiration and how you are like, are you gathering screenshots of like different sales pages, maybe in similar competitive industry? Are you designing multiple sections? Are you really trying to do a lot of testing to see like how these like really iterate on the value prop? Um, and then talk to me a little bit about what it's like to look over your shoulder while you're in the software, and how much time do you spend on the design and creativity? Because I look at your stuff and I think anyone would look at it and think like that's really your differentiator is the design. It's what sets it apart. So talk to me about all those questions I just threw at you like in the design process in and of itself.
And yeah, sure. So in terms of research or inspiration to get started, I in the questionnaire I asked them to share some brand or websites they love already. It doesn't need to be from the same industry. So it's just something that they like. So what I try to do with that is to get sync, to get aligned with their vision or with their taste, right? So that's one thing. Another thing I do before start designing is to get inspired with maybe brands or websites that I have seen the online, that we go over
Hmm.
hundreds of websites per day. So what I try to do is to connect because I also on the questionnaire. So the questionnaire is really the foundation of the work afterwards, right? Like
Hmm.
um so along with the reference that I asked them for, I also asked them to tell me how they wanna look and feel like, or how they want people to perceive them when they land or on the page. And
Yeah.
so
Give me some words you're using when you describe that. Like what emotions are you trying to what would you ask them and what would they tell you want to portray or capture? So give me like an
yeah,
example.
yeah, sure. So for example, they will say, okay, I want people to feel like I am an established company. I want them to feel like this is a fun company. For example, in
Hmm.
the example of Justin, creator wizard, Justin mentioned a few adjectives, right? So he wants to feel like he's fun. He's very energetic. He's very, like all the time, like wow. And he mentioned is one of the adjectives we joke about is engaged. So he wants to
Hmm.
be perceived like that. So I try to connect those adjectives along with the references they share with the design then, right? So I
Hmm.
usually just put the words next to my artboard in Figma. I put the words there to keep them in mind. I usually also paste the copy and paste I download and screenshot from the references they sent, and some references
Hmm.
I feel like are aligned with their vision as well. And then I take what they have right now, like in the brand, whether it is the brand guidelines. Sometimes they have brand guidelines, but they are usually very simple. They don't have like too many details. So it's also there is two sides of it because on one side it's like, okay, this is not very solid in terms of a brand guideline, but at the same
Hmm.
time for me it's better because I have more freedom, to
Hmm.
play with the brand or to help them establish a more solid foundation. So that's why the sales page is a great way for me to start working with someone because they see the value, or they can get a better picture of what the brand could look like. So they usually start with a
Yeah.
sales page, but then they want to translate everything to the website because the sales page looks much more better than what they had before. So yeah,
Hmm.
answering your question is about basically getting the references they share with me along with some adjectives to for me to make sure that what I create is aligned with their vision. But one point I want to make here as well is I feel like the years of experience, like
Hmm.
doing stuff also have helped me to, I don't know, to build a muscle in my brain to better understand and translate that vision because I didn't have this process
Hmm.
before, I
Yeah.
couldn't do it this way. I will need more information or more iterations
Hmm.
with the client. So I
Yeah.
feel like
There's
I'm not answering one of your questions. You mentioned something else.
Yeah, I wanted to know the last one was like how long is your time spent in design relative to the entire
Mm.
duration, because I think that's your biggest differentiator. So a lot of times, sometimes agencies, freelancers, they will either skip design altogether and go straight to development. But for you, when design is such a big value out of, your deliverable, your service, like how much time is being spent in software?
Yeah, definitely is the phase that take me the more time, right? So
Mhm.
I have tracked in my time on a sales page, and usually it take me around 8 to 12 hours in total. I don't feel I'm that fast to design, to be honest, even though I have created hundreds of pages. But
That is That's actually way less than I was expecting. Wow, that's
yeah,
really
yeah.
impressive. So, talk to me, I think, and something I didn't want to glaze over too, dude. First of all, thank you for sharing your process. And like I said, a lot of this is a little bit of selfish running for me, but we'll tie it back to some of the sort of the bigger principles of how you design for conversions, what the difference between working with creators versus, like you mentioned, a more traditional marketing background, working with SaaS and other projects like that. But talk to me about like your something that you said that I didn't want to skip over was that you are a little bit tool agnostic. So do you develop all of the client projects that you take on, and you do it in different development platforms too?
Yes, right now I have a small team, but at some point, yeah, I was doing it all myself, including copywriting. Actually, at the beginning, I was only working on design, right? So I will get the copywriting, usually the copy document, and then from there I would start the design and development. But then I didn't like this project because I didn't have too much control. So a lot of time the project will get delayed because of this. And so I started hiring copywriters to help me with, so I could offer copywriting
Mhm.
services. And then I wanted to also learn myself, you know, copywriting. So with the with we know, with the new bomb of AI and ChatGPT and everything, that helps me a lot. That have helped me a lot to, to make it work and to do
Mhm.
a decent work in terms of copywriting. Then regarding the tools, yeah, yeah, as I mentioned, I used to build myself the tools, the pages in the dev tool, whatever that is. I used to work mostly with Webflow and some drag and drop tools like Instapage or Kajabi. But yeah, now we are now covering scenes from Webflow, Framer, WordPress, Instapage, Kajabi, Squarespace, and so I have I have a few members in the team that help me with development. So I'm not focusing too
Mhm.
much on that part right now because I'm not the better. I'm building website. I prefer to to focus on the strategy
Yes.
and design.
Yeah, stick to what you're good at, my friend. That is a discipline we
Exactly.
all have to learn. Um, but yeah, so sort of unpacking a little bit more, like what do you what's your unique differentiated perspective, right? Like you're designing for coaches, consultants. I think something I learned about recently, Martin, was a like conducting when you were talking to your clients, conducting what's called a jobs to be done interview. And hang with me here because it's a little bit of a tie back into what the question is. But it's basically like when you talk to your clients, you identify like what the reason they're coming to you was. I think it cut out there for a second. Did it cut out for you too?
Yeah, yeah. I disappeared for a second.
Okay, I
Actually,
think it's still good. It says okay. It says it's still recording, but can
yeah,
you hear me
actually
okay though?
record. Yeah, I can hear you okay. I just I'm seeing you like pixelated, but I can hear you. I can hear you well. It said something here like actual recording is higher quality, so it looks like at the end
Yeah,
it will look good.
Riverside. Yeah, Riverside. Like in stream experience isn't always the best, but afterwards, like it comes out like 4K and fine. But
Okay,
yeah, that was that
that's
was weird. I've never seen it do that before. That was kind of weird. But okay, so I'll try and so going back to
yeah.
my question. So a jobs to be done interview. Like I see you. The reason I would come to Martin is because maybe I'm launching a course or a community, or I'm launching something new. Maybe a book. Maybe it's just a new offer for myself, and I want it to be just a home run when people come and see it online. I think that's your job to be done. That's, the reason people come to you, they value your expertise. What can you say is the differentiator why people would really want and value a design on a web page like that, similar to your style? And what is different about that than just a traditional website? So I'm a small business owner. I need a website. That's kind of boom, top of mind, versus I'm a course creator, an author, and I want to really knock it out of the park with this design. What is the difference? What's that gap there between people who just need a website and people who need a landing page that's of this quality, that has this design aesthetic that you're so known for?
So, the sales pages and the website are very different ways to present present you online, right? So we have the website. I like doing this comparison where your website is more like your home, right? Where you have all the rooms for each room for its own purpose, right? So we have the the kitchen where you're going to cook. You have your bedroom, you're going to sleep, and so on. And so comparing that to a landing page where you have just one goal, and the goal, whatever the goal is, right, for the offer. So if it is a course, you want people to buy your course. You have a community. You want people to get in the community, and so on. And so I feel like the website is more like your business card, where you present your um, all the different sides of your company, right? So you have all your offers, you have more about you, your mission, and so they in a website they will get more familiar not only with your solutions, with your service, but also with who you are, right? Or who the company is, really. Versus the sales page where you're focusing only on the offer, only on serving the specific audience you have for that specific offer. So it's much more specific, the sales page versus a website.
Yeah.
Is that am I
Yeah.
answering your question? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
You're very, I think design speaks better when it's all directed towards a single call to action, right?
Yeah.
When you think about a landing page, a sales page, can be much more effective when you're not diluting all these different outcomes for the viewer. And it's also doubly effective if it's speaking to one particular person too. It allows you to be more concentrated, from what I'm hearing, with being able to brand it well enough so that it's actually effective. Like it's resonating very deeply with the one person who's supposed to be the buyer of that offer, right?
Yes.
And as you kind of talk about your process and everything from start to finish, I can see why the people that you work with, they already have an offer put together, and it creates a really awesome springboard for you to go in and do your best work, because it's all very targeted towards one viewer. It's contained in that one room, right? And I love that analogy too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
But yeah, dude, I mean, that's kind of a good place to land the plane, dude. But I appreciate you jamming today. Like I said, I've been a fan of your work for a really long time. And by the way, dude, like the lab landing page is very often referenced as one of the best designed pieces of like creative in terms of a website, that like a lot of people that you and I aren't even mutuals with have mentioned to me, like, wow, I really like that. I've had people in calls bring it up and say like, wow, like I really love the background stipple textures. I love the subtle blue glow. I love how, the testimonials, the motion, the branding, the blue, everything like that. So just between you and I, like that work is being seen by more people than you can probably wrap your head around. So kudos there. I've
Thank you,
been
man.
enjoying
I
following.
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I see nothing but up and to the right for you and everything that you have going on. I've been enjoying following you on LinkedIn as you sort of retool your own page and your own business. And yeah, I'm a huge fan, and I highly encourage all the listeners to go over and follow you over on LinkedIn or X or anywhere that you're online.